because you have to watch the news to do your podcast because
Sure.
you have to know what's going on.
Yeah.
I I got really into the news back when this was all going down for a few months, and it weighed on me. I hit a wall where it was like I can't watch the news. Like I had to take a break because it was just, and it definitely could have been where I was getting my news because it was CNN, and there's a tinge on everything,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
there's definitely a tinge on that, and it just weighed on me so deeply that I was like, I can't watch. Like I was just negative. I'd
Mm-hmm.
watch it, and it would just turn my whole day negative.
Yeah.
Does that ever happen to you, or can
Oh
you
yeah.
compartmentalize it a little more?
Absolutely. I mean, I feel like there was a time where a friend of mine was saying something like, "Oh yeah, for every 15 minutes of CNN, you got to watch 15 minutes of Fox News," and it's like, no, that's going to make you feel worse. They're both not positive. You don't leave either network feeling happy. You know what
Yeah,
I
it's never
mean?
you never feel like you just spent 15 good minutes and you feel
Yeah.
like a better person afterwards.
It's just like that moderation thing we were talking about. I mean, you're talking, you're going to watch some CNN, watch a little bit of it, but read some Politico, read multi sources, read some PolitiFact, go back and see what people have been saying that is absolute and complete bullshit. And share that with people because, oh my gosh, whenever misinformation goes around, especially on networks like Fox News or CNN, things get real weird. So I mean, there was a time back in the pandemic where I was like, okay, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, coming on 5 o'clock early evening, news is off. Just shut it off and like scroll wholesome memes on Reddit. Let's just like bathe in what humanity can be, because humanity truly can be super beautiful. And I think a lot of people are forgetting that. Perspective is a really important thing that we all need. So, multi source, get your information from a bunch of different places, but also trust people that have been working on things for a really long time. If you've got peer reviewed science journals and the smartest people in the world are saying something, we should listen to them. Or, if things have been fact checked by a number of people, we should believe them. Uh, for the most part, there's some manipulation going on out there. I'll give people that, but just the mistrust for people that have spent their entire lives trying to make people's lives better is like, oh my gosh, that's not kind.
Yeah, it's hard because who do you trust? Because you find you could go to one site, it's totally slanderous, and then you might start thinking, oh, all news is bad.
Mm-hmm.
And then you discredit all the people that are putting in the work, like Isabella. I mean, I talked to her and I told her after the show, I was like, after talking to you, like, I feel like my faith in journalism has been restored a little bit. Like, I can tell that you are authentic in your pursuit of just the truth. Like, you're not trying to sway people's opinions. You're just trying to create, not even create, but find the story
Mm-hmm.
and present that in
Mm-hmm.
its entirety and with integrity to the people. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that's admirable. And I think it's easy to look at one bad news organization or one bad person writing these things and say that's all news. But
Mm-hmm.
it's not.
Mm-mm. Absolutely. I mean, and that's why we have to hold our journalists accountable. That's why we have to hold our officials accountable. That's why we have to go to city council meetings and wade through hours of bullshit, stuff that just makes you want to fall asleep. Because, journalists really do still have that role and they really still are helping communities. Sure, it's a business, especially whenever you're talking about CNN and Fox News and MSNBC. That's a business. That's why all those stations are playing one-sided stuff, but whenever it comes to community news, whenever it comes to journalists that are doing the work and really going to those meetings and like looking into these things closely, filing the California Public Records Act requests, um, you know, you got to really appreciate what these folks do. When I worked at the Times Standard, Thaddeus Greenson was like the desk next to mine. And, he's the editor of the North Coast Journal now, the news editor over there. And he's a really smart guy. And the way that he would talk to people, the way that he would, immediately hang up the phone and call the next person to try and verify what the previous person had said. the way that he would pick up on something that didn't seem quite right, and the way that he would, make that phone call immediately after that just to verify it. It could have been the smallest thing in the world, but one lie leads to a million sometimes. So the amount of hard work that people put into these things, I got to witness that firsthand. And so growing up with somebody like Isabella, she really cares. She really cares about this community. She wants this to be a better place. And a lot of the journalists that I've been able to work with, they really do want this to be a better place. There's some, they just want their paycheck and they want to go home. And unfortunately, the pay model is built that way sometimes because it's like they're not paying journalists enough money. The Times Standard is laying people off left and right. That's just such an unfortunate bummer because these are some of the most brilliant people in the world that are out of work now. So it's really important. I wouldn't say that I'm a journalist cheerleader per se, but I'm a friend of good journalists, I would say. And I really appreciate some of the solid ones out there. I think Ryan Burns locally for Lost Coast Outpost does an incredible job. Thaddeus, I mentioned him. Jennifer at the Journal does a really good job. Isabella has been just crushing it. I mean, that girl
Yeah.
works so hard. I see her byline on like 3 stories a day or something, and I'm like, dang, girl, like
She's not messing around.
I hope that, yeah, gosh, she's really pouring it in. I think a lot of people should appreciate that.
Yeah. I think it's just hard because we always focus on the negative and we forget that there's positive things out there. You hear that again, you hear that one negative story and you're like, this is bullshit. All news is bullshit. Like I'm not going to pay attention to any of it. But
Mm-hmm.
there are good boots on the ground
Mm-hmm.
putting in the work. And that's one of the things I like about, your show is even though it's just like a recap format, I know that like I can listen to what you're saying and it's like you're not feeding bullshit. Like I trust that you put in the work, Isabella vouched for you of course too, and it's like you need that. You need cuz who has time? I don't have time or I don't make time. Everybody has time. I don't make the time to go and comb through as much as I should. And so sites like what Isabella puts out or what you put out, like having that is a valuable resource for people that just don't have time. Because otherwise, what's the alternative? It's Fox News or it's CNN, and it's just that's not good.
Or just scrolling the feed,
Yeah, or just getting it off of Facebook, which
Yeah.
is just as bad, if not worse.
I mean, you take your average person, over there on the boardwalk here in Eureka. You just cruise over there and just start talking to people. I mean, and they were really honest with you. Most of them would say, "Oh yeah, I get my news from Facebook, and I don't even click into the article.
It's
I
just the
just the
headline.
headline, just a little caption, and then you go into the
Ugh.
comments, and then you see who's liking the most comment, or which comment has the most likes, and of course they're right. It's just like this hive mind." And that's you don't even realize that it's just like due to how Facebook gave the algorithm at that point and who it showed that comment to for the first 5 minutes of that post. That doesn't make it right.
No.
So yeah, being able to go through there, yeah, look at those comments, but fact check them. Read multiple sources, make sure that that stuff is real, because don't just say, "Oh, I saw it on Facebook, so it must be true." You know what I mean?
It's the easy
Run
way
into
out.
Yeah,
And I've done
absolutely.
that. I mean, I've caught a headline and been like, "Oh, that's crazy," and then talked to somebody else about it, and they're like, "Oh, that's not actually true," and I'm like,
Yeah,
"Oh, this is not good. I need to
yeah,
start looking deeper." But
yeah.
it's convenience, because you're already on Facebook. You see the headline, and whether or not you click on it, it's stuck with you now. Like you have that headline in the back of your head, and
Mm-hmm.
if the moment presents itself, you're gonna be like, "Oh yeah, I read something about that." You didn't actually read anything about it. You read the 5 words that were the headline,
Mm-hmm.
and that's it, and
Yeah,
that's all you know about it.
yeah.